I look through the screen. Looks like everybody is muted at this point. But if you're on the phone and you want your name's called and you have a question or a comment, you have to hit *6 to unmute. So it's *6 to unmute and then *6 to mute again. When we do call your name, when Brian calls your name, please state your name and also tell us the town that you're from. There could be other people from outside of Fairfax participating in our town meeting. So we want to make that clear. If you're a resident of Fairfax, tell us that. If you're not, tell us what town you're from. We'll give everybody 2 minutes for a comment or a question. Once we go through everyone, we'll go back to anyone that has a second question on that article. So you'll only have either 2 questions or 2 comments per article, and you'll have 2 minutes each time that you speak. And Randy Devine, I mean, we have state-of-the-art technology here. Randy's going to be keeping the time with an egg timer. So once again, something funny to me, maybe not to you, but 2 minutes for comment or question. And if you have a second question or a comment, we'll go back to the end of the line and we'll get back to you before we move on to the next article. If you want to violate our rules, we'll give you a warning. If you continue to violate our rules, we're going to put you in listen only. And if you continue to not listen to the instructions and how we're going to abide by this meeting, we will strike you from the meeting. And hopefully we won't have to do that. So those are the rules. I don't know if anybody has any questions. You can certainly ask those now, or you can ask those as we go through the meeting. But once again, we hope that you will participate by putting your name in the chat room or hitting *9 on the phone, and wait for Brian to call your name before you ask your question or make your comment. And at this point, I am going to turn the mic over to our town manager, Brad Dochev, who has a small report that he would like to give to the residents of the town.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. Thanks for everyone for joining. We are slowly creeping up there in participants, but from the list of names I see, I know most of you at least, so forgive me if I'm a little informal with these comments, but it's nice to see all of you, albeit in a way that's not our traditional form of town meeting. I hope everyone's well, and I look forward to a year with fewer obstacles than we've been growing accustomed to. I'm going to be brief today. I just want to respect everyone's time and just point out a few of the highlights of the past year and what we're going to be doing going forward next year. As we review 2020, obviously, the challenges brought by COVID are a major focus. We've had to adapt the way we do town business, and I really appreciate how folks in the town have borne with us and also how they've supported their neighbors and our local businesses in different ways as we've gone through this. That's been really heartening throughout what has otherwise been in a rather unsettling period. I mean, it shows great community spirit. One transition, obviously, that we've had to make this year is that of virtual meetings. This has actually been a nice surprise. It's been great for participation. We've seen an overall uptick in attendance at select board meetings. Let someone in here. There we go. And interaction's been good. So it's something we've learned from, and we'll see if this can remain an option for folks as long as it makes sense and works for people going forward. I only know some of you through a screen, but it has been great to find new ways to connect, and I look forward to being able to interact with you in person in the coming year. I want to take a moment to express my thanks to the members of the town staff for their adaptability and their willingness to adjust to the different standards of working that we've gone through over the past year. I know it hasn't been easy for everyone, but I'm glad that we've been able to continue to offer services in a way that I think is quite reasonable and effective given the circumstances. So for any stats and details, people can refer to our town report, but just to point out some general successes of the past year, I'll start, as Corm mentioned, with the elections. In a year of extremely high voter participation, Deb Woodward, our clerk, and Lynn Parra, our assistant clerk, along with members of the BCA, staff, volunteers, Judy, Sherry, Joe, Amy, Sue, I'm going to leave people out, but all of them, did a tremendous job in holding 2 very non-traditional elections that really went very smoothly. So that deserves commendation, and it's noteworthy, and thanks to them. Fairfax Community Library, credit is due to Emily, Elizabeth, and the Board of Trustees. I see some of you here as well, for their efforts and success in keeping patrons connected through virtual programming and curbside pickup. The library is a major connection point for a lot of residents, and keeping that operation going and running smoothly is important for patrons. So thanks to them. Our highway department has done a great job staying safe, staying at work, and continuing on the plan to bring town roads up to a higher standard. Two of the biggest projects from the past year were on Richards Road and Sam Webb Road. Those were focused on long-term fixes to areas that have had recurring problems. And they'll continue to work through town to bring things to a standard that everyone deserves, because that's what you're paying for. The recreation department as well has been extremely active and really led the way, I think, in adapting programming and events to what's been the new normal. Brian, along now with Danielle and Mitch, has really worked hard to create safe alternatives, and the party in the park, party out of the park, excuse me, the reverse 4th of July parade, the Halloween costume parade, and our Fairfax Fridays over the summer were just absolutely awesome considering the challenges. So that was great. And the introduction of an ice rink at the park has been a great addition. It could have been easy to just sit back and wait for things to clear up, but they have continued to move ahead. So I wanted to note that as well. Those are just some of the bigger highlights that I could think of. I don't want to leave anyone or any department out. The fire department has really adapted to safety challenges and continues to respond when we need them. All the administrative departments in the town office have rolled with the changes and adapted to the different guidelines, and they've continued to do business. The utility department has been engaged in asset management evaluation, and everyone really continues to work towards improving and expanding the quality of services that we can offer to residents. So what can we look forward to in the upcoming year? First, our townwide reappraisal that has been going on continues. It is ongoing and remains on schedule. The results of this should be reflected in the 2022 grand list, and this has been overdue, and it's important that the real estate in this town reflects a fair market value, and that's the goal of the reappraisal. The Northwest CUD, or Communications Union District, was formed in 2020. Fairfax was one of the founding communities there. They continue to move forward in the mission to bring accessible, affordable broadband to the region. We do have a fiber network being installed by MC Fiber through a good portion of the town, and we really hope to reach a point where universal access is a reality for the community. If 2020 taught us anything, it's really how essential connectivity is to being able to function at a high level, and how having reliable internet access is both a benefit and a draw for folks, and attracts economic growth to the region. So we'll continue to help support the CUD in their mission for that. Got a couple of projects in different phases of development, including a wastewater extension along Fletcher Road to the facility operated by Runamuck Maple. That's been ongoing, and we're getting pretty kinetic with that. The connection is going to be able to help that company expand, and the goal for us is to help create more local jobs in town for Fairfax residents and the region. We're also moving forward with the engineering design of phases 2 and 3 of our sidewalk master plan in the village. This is going to extend our current network out on both sides of Main Street, from Huntville Road to reach Nan's Mobile and increase overall walkability. And Barb, this one's for you. We have been awarded funding for further improvements that include completing the sidewalk along School Street to link up to BFA Fairfax, and to install a crosswalk and crossing signals on Main Street near Stone's Throw Pizza. So that has been a long time coming. A lot of folks have worked on that, and I say this every year, but we're actually moving forward, which is great. It's at an inching pace, but we're getting there. And also, we're looking to explore options for safety and space improvements at the fire station. They're in the early phases of design, but it's something that should be on the radar for the coming year and beyond, because we're looking to make improvements there. The building is old and it needs some work done. I know Brian's going to talk about recreational plans, I believe, so I'm not going to steal his thunder. I'll leave those to him. That's pretty much all I've got to say. I will close. I just want to acknowledge 2 losses that the greater Fairfax family experienced over the past months. First, longtime member and chief of the Fairfax Fire Department, Jim Field, passed on last year. Jim was a leader, a teacher, and an example to generations of firefighters in town. I didn't have the pleasure of working with him, but in conversations with our current chief and current firefighters, I understand the impact that he had and the legacy he's left. He is responsible for helping get the current fire station built, and we were lucky enough to be able to rededicate the station in his name before he passed. So I know the fire department continues to honor his example and his contributions in their work. And we also lost a great friend, teacher, and outdoor enthusiast in Mike Kane. If you don't know, Mike was the steward of the 100-acre woods in Fairfax and played a huge role in getting that established and keeping it maintained over much of the last decade. He was a fixture in recreation and in connecting with students and young athletes in the region. I got to know Mike and experience his generosity of spirit and his enthusiasm for making activities accessible to everybody. And he's going to be very much missed. Both of these gentlemen they made major contributions to the fabric of the community, and I wanted to make mention of them. May we all be so successful in being able to touch lives in the way that they did. So with that, I'll pass it back over to Steve unless anybody has any specific questions on things that I talked about. Thank you again.
If you do have a question for Brad, you could do it now, or you could wait until we get to open business as well at the end of this. So thank you, Brad. And once again, let me reiterate, you've done a great job for the town, and we're lucky to have you. So look forward to continuing our working relationship in the future. At this point, I will turn it over to our Director of Parks and Rec, and that is Brian LeClaire.
Hey, everybody. I'm going to go over some of the stuff that Brad talked about. I just wanted to share a quick recap of what we've accomplished in the last year and some of the things that we're working towards going forward. Obviously, a lot of the stuff that I talked about last year at our town meeting day didn't go quite as planned because of what we've been facing, but I'm incredibly proud of the creativity and the persistence that we've displayed in creating opportunities to bring our community together, even during a pandemic. Last year in this presentation, I talked about our plans for the Fairfax Farmers Market, which is now sometimes referred to as Fairfax Fridays. Our hope was to convert this into more of a weekly community gathering space through the addition of music and prepared food available on Friday nights. We had the awesome experience of working with over 20 local market vendors this year, selling products from candles to salsa to awesome locally made face masks. And we were able to host 13 farmers market dates with live music in front of the Fairfax Community Center. We want to thank everyone, the incredible amount of people, quite honestly, that showed up and supported week after week, all of the vendors, and for being so considerate with mask wearing to ensure that we could all have a great and safe time enjoying that program. And this program is something that we couldn't have done without the support from Rise Vermont, who through a $1,500 grant enabled us to host a ton of awesome local musicians. And we're definitely looking forward to another great farmers market season this year. As Brad mentioned, we had to get really creative for a lot of our events. So for our annual 4th of July celebrations, one of my favorite aspects was something that we did called the reverse parade. We knew that we didn't want to have a ton of folks packing in next to each other along the side of Main Street and Hunt Street. So we asked local residents and businesses to set up stationary floats and had people who wanted to enjoy it, and some, plenty of unsuspecting passersby, take a drive down the road. And the creativity on display was truly incredible, and it was just something really unique for our community to enjoy. We also hosted the Party Out of the Park, which was a twist on our recently instated Party in the Park celebration. We had the incredible honor of our alternative 4th of July plan being celebrated by Governor Phil Scott for its priority in health and safety. We worked with BFA Fairfax and Jim Minier to have parking locations at the school and J&L Field to view the fireworks display in person from cars. And we had a live streaming concert featuring Carol Ann Jones and Troy Millette. Both of the parking areas completely filled up, and we had thousands of viewers tune into the live stream. And we're really looking forward to this year's Party in the Park on July 2nd, and hopefully having much more flexibility on what that celebration can look like. In the fall, we were able to host a Halloween parade with kids and adults dressing up and taking a physically distanced stroll around town together. And we were pleasantly surprised when hundreds of people showed up. And again, want to thank everybody who came to that for being respectful with mask wearing and distancing and having a really great time, and hopefully getting to enjoy lots of candy at the end. In this fall, we installed new trail signage at the 100 Acre Woods hiking area, thanks to a grant from Rise Vermont. And we also received a sizable grant from the Building Communities Grants Program through the state of Vermont, which will enable us to build bog bridges and finish up terrain work in the 100 Acre Woods this spring. As Brad mentioned, and as many of you know, we recently lost Michael Kane, who is a community member and a friend and a coworker, who's really been instrumental to my learning about trail building and to a lot of folks' understanding and appreciation for outdoor recreation in general, not just in Fairfax, but in our county as a whole. We are planning to dedicate the 100 Acre Woods to him and the incredible legacy that he's built there. And we're working with his family to determine the best way to do that. And how to make it something that he would really appreciate. At the community park, as some of you know, we now have a seasonal outdoor ice rink for everyone to enjoy, thanks to hundreds of donations from community members and businesses. Within 4 days of launching our fundraising campaign for that, we had already crossed our goal amount. It's been awesome to see folks out there every day enjoying it, and I want to thank the Fairfax Fire Department for all of their help with filling it and resurfacing it. We have a lot of fun every time we get to go down together and work on it. Thanks to the warmer weather that's predicted for next week and beyond, it looks like we might already be up against the end of the season with that, but we're looking forward to several months of awesome skating next year as well. We've been working towards utilizing the community center building more and more, and it's been an especially important resource during the pandemic when access to other facilities we use has been limited. The Friends of the Fairfax Community Center group has worked incredibly hard to turn the idea of having a community center in Fairfax into a reality that we can just see right across the finish line from where we are. The FFCC has recently let us know that they will be dissolving and donating $15,000 for use in that project. While we're still working out all of the details, the hope is that this money will be spent in tandem with funds that we already have to bring an important section of the building up to spec to be used for a ton of incredible opportunities year-round for Fairfax residents. Separately, we raised a lot of money for programs of all kinds this year. It was a record-breaking year for us as we raised over $20,000 between grants and donations for projects that benefit Fairfax, and we're hoping to raise even more in 2021. As many of you know, we're also instituting our own summer camp programs this year in Fairfax, and I talked a bit about this during my presentation last year, but our hope is to provide more affordable and flexible summer camp options for Fairfax families than have been available in the past. And we have a really sharp focus with this on being able to expand those options going forward. Our summer camp registration opened 2 weeks ago, and our 9 weeks of day camp have filled up completely since then. And we have waiting lists that are growing. There are several local organizations that additionally will have summer camp offerings this year that we're working with to highlight what their offerings are and the amazing opportunities that they'll be providing. Additionally, we were thrilled this year to have Danielle Rothie join our team as our activities coordinator. Her position is generally in charge of ongoing programming like the ice skating lessons and fitness classes and much more that we'll be able to offer as the pandemic presents us with fewer challenges going forward. And she's been doing a truly stellar job, even just with the restrictions that we currently face. One big highlight from Danielle recently is that we were just awarded a $1,500 grant from Rise Vermont for ropes courses for kids in both the 100-acre woods and the community park, and we're really excited to set those up this spring. I have plenty more to say about all of the things that we're working on, and I didn't get to touch on all of them at all, but I'll end here and say that we're really thankful for all the amazing support and help from everyone in Fairfax in all that we do. And whether you volunteered with us in the last year or just enjoyed an event we're working on, you all make us feel really lucky to be doing what we're doing, and you inspire us every day to continue providing great opportunities for our community. And if you have any questions or comments, I'm happy to hear them now. And you can also always call us or email us, and we'll make sure to get back to you as quickly as possible.
Thank you, Brian. So if anybody's got questions for Brian, you can do that now, or you can wait until the end when we get to other business. Before I turn the meeting over to our moderator and she goes through the articles, I realized that nowhere on my cheat sheet did I put that I should probably introduce myself. As you can see at the bottom of my screen, my name is Steve Cormier. I am a member of the Select Board and have been for 4 years. I've been the chair of the board now for 3 years, and it's been a great honor. I've only lived in Fairfax for 6 years, but my wife grew up here. So you might, if you've been here forever, you might remember the names Morris, Richard and B. Morris. Richard was heavily involved in this town. Not just in the fire department, but also one of the guys that got the 4th of July parade started. So even though I've only been here 6 years, I feel like I do have some roots as part of this town, and I'm proud to serve you as a select board member and as the chair of your board as well. And with that, we are now going to get into the articles, and our town moderator, Robbie Radomir, will work through the articles with us. She will go one by one. Once again, I would ask that if you have a question or a comment, make sure you put it in the chat. Do not speak until recognized, and only put your question or comment in pertaining to the article that you want to talk. So if you want to talk about article number 5, wait until we get to article number 5. And then you will get 2 minutes to make a comment or ask your questions. And then if you have more questions or comments, you're going to have to wait until we go through everybody, and we'll get back to you at the end. So, Robbie, it's all yours. Now we just got to unmute you.
All right, how about that? For those of you that are on Zoom, you can read the articles in front of you. For those of you that aren't and have a town meeting report, they are on page 7. And for those of you that are listening by phone, I will read the articles so at least you know what we're talking about. The only thing I wish to add to Steve's comments is that none of the comments or questions that you make may involve persons or personalities. So with that, here we go. Article 1 is the usual Article 1. It's listing the people that you will be voting for on Tuesday to be your town officers. So to elect from the legal voters of the town of Fairfax, the following officers: town moderator, a 1-year term; select person for a 3-year term; a select person for a 2-year term; a community library trustee for a 3-year term; a community library trustee for another 3-year term; a cemetery commissioner for a 5-year term; a cemetery commissioner for 2 years remaining of another 5-year term; and the delinquent tax collector for a 3-year term. So we will now go to Article 2, which reads, shall the registered voters of the town of Fairfax approve the FY 2022, that's fiscal year 2022, 12-month fiscal budget covering the period from July 1, 2021 to June 30th, 2022, as recommended by the Select Board, of $3,533,491, of which $2,457,811 is to be raised by taxes, and $699,196 to be raised by fees associated with the approved trash contract. Are there any questions or comments?
We do have
just real quick. I see that there's a comment in there. What we'd rather people do is put your name in there, and then Brian will call you and you can ask your question instead of putting a question in the chat room. I'm sorry, Brian, go ahead.
It's all right. So yeah, we do have 2 questions, and the first one is from Alex Katz. And Alex, if you'd like to speak, I don't know if you can unmute yourself.
Sure.
Awesome.
I was curious, when I subtract the 2 numbers where the how much will be raised, there is a difference of $376,484, and I'm curious where that will come from.
Do you want me to answer that, Corm?
Yeah, because I'm a little confused about his question, so go ahead.
Okay, no problem. Alex, I was just going to ask you to kick in on that and see if you could cover.
Okay, so
the difference there is the anticipated revenues that the town will bring in that we see each year. That's not listed there, but that's how we've always kind of listed the amounts for the budget. So the trash fees that come in as a special fee on the tax bill, as well as the anticipated revenues that the town generates each year, will add up to that total budget along with taxes. So
thank you, Brad.
And then plus is revenues that we anticipate to bring in.
So just to address Crum's confusion, the 2 million and the almost 700,000, they don't quite add up to the 3.5 million. And the number I quoted is the difference.
Yeah.
And Brad answered my question. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also, as another question from Jonathan, or comment from Jonathan De La De La Brere.
Thank you, Brian. Hi, everyone. The question I have is under dispatching services. I know the town of Fairfax currently uses St. Albans Central Dispatch. And I guess the question I have is a contract being negotiated with them about increases, or what does that look like? It's quite a substantial increase from the actual spent last year. I know that there was a new repeater going on Georgia Mountain, which, part of that cost is due to that. But have other means of dispatch services been looked at, or what is the plan for the town regarding dispatch services?
Yeah, I can tell you, and I'm sure that Brad can chime in here as well. Since I've been a board member, we have tried to renegotiate with St. Albans. We did look at, my first year here, we looked at other towns that might be able to provide dispatch. Unfortunately, none of those, whether it was Chittenden County, I think it was Shelburne was one, they weren't interested in working with us. And so we're kind of stuck. And I shouldn't say stuck's not the right word, because they do a great service for us, but that is just about the only option. And I will say there are other counties where dispatch is a lot more than that, Jonathan. So are we happy about that figure? No, we're not. I wish that there's other towns that they serve where their price point is a little bit lower, but they really have been pretty hard on sticking with a price and not willing to negotiate. And Brad, you can add to that if you want as well.
Yeah, sure. And Jonathan, are you referring to under the fire department's line item of dispatch?
Yeah, I mean, that's the one that I, going through the report, it just popped out to me.
Well, so you'll notice we're currently in budget FY 2021, and that was last year's budget that was voted upon. That's where the increase was. And the budget that's proposed for this year, which will be FY 22, you see that increase is just about $100. And what we were able to do with the dispatch contract is to sign on for a 2-year term to alleviate any anticipated increases that might come. So we're locked in to that same number of around 56 and change for this year and next. And we're hopeful that by the time that comes around, there will be some other options, because I know there's talk about it with other organizations of starting their own dispatch. So the real impact hit us last year, which we had to absorb because, as Steve said, there was not really another game in town that was we could utilize. But we've been able to keep that moderated for this current year and next. And hopefully, in the future, we'll be able to mitigate any other anticipated increases. So I hope that answers the question.
It does. Thank you, Brad.
Anyone else? All right, seeing no one else approaching the screen, we'll go on to Article 3. Shall the registered voters of the town of Fairfax approve the FY 2021 12-month fiscal budget of $119,519 covering the period from July 1, 2021 to June 30th, 2022 in support of the Fairfax Rescue toward operation expenses for emergency medical services. Questions or comments?
Madam Moderator?
Yes.
If I may?
You may.
Because the board only received both Article 3 and 4 at the last minute, I do have a question if it's permitted.
Yes.
I just had, and I know there's a number of people from Rescue here. I don't know who would want to answer this. I just had a question about the increase, if I could, because last year you asked for $111,700, and this year you're asking for $119,519. But last year's budget included a couple of defibrillators, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm trying to gauge, if you take the defibrillators out of last year's budget, what is really the increase from last year to this year?
Is there someone from the rescue squad that can answer that question?
I can.
Thanks, John.
All right, so you're correct. They're defibrillators. It's they're cardiac monitors, and that was a upgrade or a change in equipment that was mandated by the state. And we are on a payment plan with the manufacturer because those in total are to replace both of them. I believe it's about $90,000 total. So we're on a payment plan year to year, and this next budget year represents the third and final payment for those cardiac monitors and defibrillators.
Okay, thank you, John.
No problem.
Anyone else? All right, we will go on to Article 4. Shall the registered voters of the town of Fairfax approve $10,000 for a formal review and audit of Fairfax Rescue's financial data? Any questions or comments? Well, hearing none, we will proceed to Article 5. Shall the registered voters of the town of Fairfax vote to raise, appropriate, and expend the sum of $23,777 for the support of social contributions to provide services to the residents of the town? Age Well, $1,500. American Red Cross, $500. Fairfax Historical Society, $2,000. Franklin County Home Health Agency, $8,998. Franklin County Industrial Development, $500. Franklin Grand Isle Restorative Justice Center, $1,000. Friends of Northern Lake Champlain, $1,000. Green Mountain Transit, $2,229. Northwestern Counseling and Support Services, $1,800. Northwest Unit for Special Investigations, $1,500. Vermont Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired, $300. Vermont Center for Independent Living, $500. Vermont Council on Rural Development, $150. Vermont Family Network, $500. Vermont Green Up Incorporated, $300. And Voices Against Violence and Lori's House, $23,700 for $1,000, for a total of $23,777. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none. Article 6. Shall the registered voters of the town of Fairfax accept the reports of the town officers? Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none. Article 7. Shall the registered voters of the town of Fairfax authorize the select board to place the tax bills in the hands of the town treasurer as heretofore? None? That has got to set a record for quickness. So I am going to now turn it back over to Corm. Thank you very much, people.
Thank you, Robbie. Appreciate you being a part of this today, and for your valuable feedback throughout the year as well. And good luck Tuesday.
Thank you.
Okay, so all of those articles obviously are going to be voted on this Tuesday, and just for people who have received their absentee ballots and already mailed them in, you're all set. But for those who want to show up at the school on Tuesday, we do have protocols for you to come into the building. You do have to wear a mask. We will take your temperature. And like any place you go these days, there's a number of questions that are on a sign there that I'm not going to ask you because I'll be checking you in for most of that day. but look at those questions and hopefully you'll be honest. You know, are you feeling well? Did you travel? All of those questions that you normally hear when you go anywhere, that sign is out there. And it's also the same rules that the school abides by. But you do have to wear a mask and you will have your temperature taken. If you have filled out your absentee ballot but have not mailed it, there will be a box right inside the door that you can drop that ballot in. So once again, trying to do our best to follow all the protocols so everybody is safe as we get through this pandemic. And with that, as we do in every select board meeting, we do what we call a public forum, and what we do in town meeting, we do other business. This is the opportunity for you, if you had a question about what Brad spoke about, or you had a question about what Brian spoke about, or you have a question, now would be the time to do that. And it's the same protocol, is that you would put your name in the chat box and Brian will call on you. Right now, I don't see anybody in the chat box, so I'll give you a couple of seconds if you have a question you want to ask or a comment outside of what the articles were. Now is the time to do that.
All right, we do have something else from Alex Katz, so you can go ahead, Alex.
Carm, about dropping off the ballots that we haven't mailed yet. We can, before Monday, we can still drop them off at the town hall and the drop box. Is that correct?
It is correct.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
All right, next we have something from Ken Copenhaver.
Unmute. There we go. Yeah, my question is, could you please comment on the status of town property reassessment? Where are we on that?
And Ken, are you from Fairfax?
Yes.
Okay.
Nichols Road.
I'm not sure. Brad, is there anybody that could talk about that?
Yeah, Ken, I believe you're talking about the reappraisal that we spoke on. I can't quote exactly where they are. I know the appraisers have been working through town. I want to say they're about 25 to 30% done. The last time that I had checked in, I don't know if that's still entirely accurate, but they're in the first half of it. If anyone has any questions about property specific, they can certainly reach out to our assessor's office, and Pat's contact information is on the website. As mentioned, that should be done in time for the grand list of 2022. So not this year, but next year. And in case you're wondering if someone's been to your house or not yet, the appraisers they're dropping off little cards. The ones they drop off are bright green, so they're a little more clear and they stand out. But it gives you information on how you can kind of see what the record cards and the tax maps that they've updated will show. So you could log on, there's instructions there, and you can see your specific site, your property. And if you have any issues or questions about what changes they did or did not make, you can do it through that forum. So Ken, I hope that answers your question. If not, follow up right now if you'd like more information.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Great.
you.
Next we have Claudia Roberts.
All right, it took me a moment to find my unmute. So I think you might have answered it, but the $10,000 for a formal review and audit of the Fairfax Rescue's financial data, is that usual, or is that because we're looking to join up with another service? Can you just speak to that?
Sure. I don't know if anybody else on the board wants to speak to it before I do. We asked them to do an audit. They have done audits in the past, but really not a formal audit. And basically our bylaws really do call for that. So that that's why they're doing it, because we asked them to do that.
Oh, okay.
And they separated it from their request, just to be, their due diligence to let everybody know that extra money was going to be used for an audit.
Okay, so it's nothing about like some suspicious something or other. Okay, that's just where my mind
we
goes.
hope not.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, and we have Jonathan De La Brure again, and I'm sorry if I keep butchering your name.
Not a problem, Brian. Thank you. I'm not sure if this is a question for the select board, but it was in Steve Bassett's Fairfax Emergency Management Report. You had talked about the FEMA Public Assistance Declaration from the October 2019 storm. My question specifically is has all the work been completed? Is there outstanding items that the town or private contractors still need to do to complete the damages? And what's the process with that declaration?
I'd like to, Jonathan, I'd like to have Brad talk to you about that, because he's been kind of handling that, seeing that he's at the office all the time. So he has a heads up. There's been some changes in our project manager, so I'll let Brad fill you in on that.
Thanks, Steve. Yeah, so to answer your first question first, Jonathan, yes, all the work for those projects has been completed since last year. We have had some what I'll call challenges and complications on the federal end with regard to, our project manager and some of the documentation being plugged into the system. So we're a little delayed from where I wanted to be in the process, but we are currently very actively working with a new project manager from FEMA to get all those funds obligated and paid back. That's been a very busy item for me these past 2 weeks. So yeah, we're actively working on it. We've had 2 of our 5 projects finalized and obligated. So we anticipate those monies coming in within the next couple weeks, I would say. And there's 3 other projects that we are in the processes of finalizing. And provided we don't have any more issues like we've had, we should hopefully see those reimbursements coming in, later March or April, I'm hoping. So we should see that certainly this fiscal year. And it has definitely been a headache and a challenge. But from what I'm learning, that seems to be par for the course in dealing with FEMA when they've got so much going on, especially in the midst of this pandemic. That certainly slowed down the processes on these other projects. So I hope that answers the question.
It does. Thank you, Brad.
So we do have another question from Alex. I did just want to mention we do have one person on the phone in the meeting. I was worried there would be a bit more. Steve, can you reiterate your comments about if you're on the phone, how to ask a question?
Yeah, what you have to do is you have to hit star 9 if they have a question, and then they have to hit star 6 to unmute.
Okay. And then if we don't have anybody else entering their name into chat, I think we can go back to Alex. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so go ahead, Alex.
Thanks. This is a question about the property assessments. Are they doing the assessments just by looking outside, or will they require entry into the house?
I'll fill that one as well. No, they're doing what they can from the outside. It's COVID's presented some new challenges, but they're not needing to really go into folks' houses. If someone has a special request where they've put something in and they want them to come in, they can talk to the appraisers. But no, they're pretty much doing everything outside just by the structure and any additional buildings on properties.
Thanks, Brad.
Yep.
And it looks like that's it. Okay. Obviously, if you have any other questions about anything, you can certainly contact Brad or reach out to the select board. Our email addresses are located on the town website. Of course, Brad is here just about every day, so you can reach out to him as well. I want to thank the people who did take time to join us this afternoon. I hope you've already voted or that you are going to vote on Tuesday. Continue to be safe, and hopefully a year from now, we're all together in the gym, seeing each other face to face and returning to what regular town meeting looks like. So with that, since this is a select board meeting, I would entertain a motion from one of the board members for adjournment of this 2021 select board public informational meeting.
Steve, I'd like to just say one thing, that the new voting location is going to be in the new gym, not the old gym where it has previously been.
Good point, Randy. Thank you.
And some of our signs are advertising at middle school gym too. We have 3 different locations out there. Just so everybody knows.
Thanks, Dwayne. All right, would someone on the board like to make a motion to adjourn at this point?
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion by the board? All those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
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 Opposed? We are officially adjourned. And once again, thank you, everybody, and thanks, Brad, for setting this up.
Sure, thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank
it's
you.
Saturday. I'm kicking you all out. Have a good weekend.
Okay, bye.
See you on voting.